Manchester United eyeing Serhou Guirassy. Everything you need to know about this potential transfer. Welcome back to United Daily Updates, your trusted source for all things Manchester United. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel where we bring you the latest news, match analysis, and transfer updates every single day. We work hard to keep you informed with reliable information, and today we have a massive transfer story to break down for you. The big question everyone is asking: will Manchester United sign a new striker in 2026? This question has been on every Red Devils fan's mind, and the latest reports suggest that the answer might be yes. The name making headlines right now is Serhou Guirassy, the 29-year-old Borussia Dortmund striker who has been tearing up the Bundesliga with his goal-scoring abilities. But before we get into all the details, let me ask you something. When was the last time Manchester United had a reliable, proven striker who could deliver goals week in and week out? It has been a while, hasn't it? The club has struggled to find that cutting edge in attack, and it seems like the management is finally ready to do something about it. Who is Serhou Guirassy? Let me start by introducing you to this player if you don't already know him. Serhou Guirassy is a 29-year-old striker from Guinea who currently plays for Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga. Now, you might be thinking, wait, Dortmund just signed him recently, didn't they? Yes, that is correct. Guirassy joined Dortmund not too long ago, but already there are reports suggesting he could be on the move again. The interesting thing about Guirassy is his record. This man has scored 45 goals in just 65 appearances for Dortmund. Let that sink in for a moment. That is an incredible return for any striker at any level. When you look at those numbers, it is easy to see why Manchester United, Arsenal, and Paris Saint-Germain are all keeping a close eye on him. Guirassy is not just about the goals though. He brings a physical presence to the game. He is strong, he can hold up the ball, and he has good movement in the box. These are exactly the qualities that Manchester United need right now. The team has been crying out for someone who can finish chances and make life easier for the creative players in the squad. Why Manchester United need a striker? Before we talk about the transfer details, let's discuss why Manchester United are even looking at strikers in the first place. The current situation at Old Trafford is not ideal when it comes to the attacking department. Joshua Zirkzee arrived at the club with high expectations, but things have not worked out the way everyone hoped. There are now reports suggesting that Zirkzee could leave the club as early as January. If that happens, Manchester United will be left with a massive gap in their forward line. Then there is Benjamin Sesko. The young Slovenian striker joined Manchester United from RB Leipzig and showed some promise initially. However, he recently picked up a knee injury against Tottenham. While the injury is not considered serious, it has still raised concerns about relying too heavily on a young player who is still adapting to the demands of the Premier League. The Premier League is one of the toughest leagues in the world. The pace is faster, the defenders are stronger, and the physical demands are much higher than in other leagues. Young players need time to adjust, and expecting Sesko to carry the goal-scoring burden on his own might be asking too much too soon. This is where someone like Guirassy could make a real difference. At 29 years old, he is in his prime years as a striker. He has experience playing at the highest level in Germany, and he knows what it takes to score goals consistently. He would not need time to adapt or develop. He could come in and make an immediate impact. The release clause situation. Now let's talk about the most important part of this story, the release clause. According to multiple reports, Serhou Guirassy has a €50 million release clause in his contract with Borussia Dortmund. In today's transfer market, €50 million for a proven goalscorer is actually quite reasonable. But here is where it gets interesting. The release clause is not available to every club. Reports suggest that only a select group of elite clubs can activate this clause. The question that nobody seems to have a clear answer to is whether Manchester United are on that list. Some reports mention that 7 clubs are believed to have access to this release clause. These clubs are Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Real Madrid, and Barcelona. If this is true, then Manchester United definitely have a chance to sign Guirassy. However, other reports suggest that the list of clubs might be different or even smaller. This uncertainty is one of the reasons why this transfer story is so intriguing. Nobody knows for sure which clubs can actually trigger the clause, and that adds an element of mystery to the whole situation. What we do know is that Manchester United are definitely interested. The club's new manager, Ruben Amorim, is looking to strengthen the attack with proven quality, and Guirassy fits that description perfectly. Competition from other clubs. Manchester United are not the only club interested in Serhou Guirassy. Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain are also monitoring his situation closely, and this could make things complicated. Arsenal's interest in Guirassy makes a lot of sense. The Gunners have been looking for a clinical finisher who can help them challenge for the Premier League title. They have a fantastic team with great creativity in midfield, but they have sometimes struggled to convert chances into goals. Gyökeres's accuracy in front of goal and his experience could be exactly what Arsenal need. The reports suggest that Arsenal value his clinical style and the fact that he has proven himself at the top level. Mikel Arteta is always looking for ways to improve his squad, and adding a striker like Gyökeres would definitely make Arsenal more dangerous in attack. Then there is Paris Saint-Germain. The French giants loaned out Randal Kolo Muani last summer, and they are now looking for reinforcements up front. PSG view Gyökeres as an upgrade on Goncalo Ramos, which tells you a lot about how highly they rate the Dortmund striker. PSG have always been willing to spend big money on top players, and they have the financial resources to compete with any club in the world. If they decide they want Gyökeres, they will make a strong push to sign him. So Manchester United will face serious competition if they want to bring Gyökeres to Old Trafford. This is not going to be an easy transfer to complete, even if United are one of the clubs that can activate his release clause. The Benjamin Sesko factor. One of the biggest reasons why Manchester United might hesitate to sign Gyökeres is Benjamin Sesko. The club recently invested in the young Slovenian striker, and they believe he has the potential to become a world-class player. Sesko is only 21 years old, and he needs playing time to develop and reach his full potential. If Manchester United sign Gyökeres, it could block Sesko's development and limit his opportunities to play. This is a genuine concern for the club. When you spend big money on a young talent, you need to give that player a chance to grow and prove himself. If Sesko ends up sitting on the bench because Gyökeres is playing every week, it could damage his confidence and slow down his progress. On the other hand, some people would argue that competition for places is healthy. Having multiple quality strikers in the squad means that everyone has to work harder to earn their spot in the team. It also gives the manager more options and flexibility when dealing with injuries, suspensions, and fixture congestion. The knee injury that Sesko picked up against Tottenham is another factor to consider. While the injury is not serious, it does highlight the risk of relying too heavily on one player. If Sesko gets injured and Joshua Zirkzee leaves, Manchester United could find themselves in a difficult situation with no experienced striker to call upon. This is why the debate about signing Gyökeres is so complex. There are good arguments on both sides, and the club will need to weigh all the factors carefully before making a decision. What kind of player would Manchester United be getting? Let's take a closer look at what Serhou Gyökeres would bring to Manchester United if the transfer happens. First and foremost, you are getting goals. That record of 45 goals in 65 appearances speaks for itself. In the modern game, finding a striker who can consistently put the ball in the back of the net is not easy. Many forwards have good movement or work hard for the team, but they struggle with the actual finishing. Gyökeres does not have that problem. His goal-scoring record in the Bundesliga has been impressive. He knows where to be at the right time, he has good positioning in the box, and he can finish with both feet. These are all qualities that Manchester United desperately need right now. Beyond the goals, Gyökeres also offers a strong physical presence. He stands tall, he is good in the air, and he can hold up the ball with his back to goal. This makes him a different type of striker compared to what Manchester United currently have. When you have a striker who can hold up the ball, it allows your attacking midfielders and wingers to get forward and join the attack. It creates more options and makes the team more unpredictable. Defenders also have to think twice before committing to tackles because they know Gyökeres has the strength to shield the ball and bring teammates into play. His link-up play is another aspect of his game that should not be overlooked. Gyökeres is not just a penalty box striker who waits for chances to fall to him. He can drop deep, receive the ball, and combine with teammates to create opportunities. This versatility makes him a valuable asset for any team. However, it is important to be realistic about his recent form. While his overall record for Dortmund is excellent, reports suggest that his form has dipped slightly this season. He has scored just one goal in his last 6 Bundesliga starts, which is a concern. Now, every striker goes through rough patches. It happens to even the best players in the world. The question is whether this is just a temporary dip in form or a sign of something more serious. Manchester United's scouting department would need to analyze this carefully before committing to a transfer. The financial side of things. Let's talk money. The reported €50 million release clause works out to roughly £42 million, depending on the exchange rate. For a proven goalscorer in today's market, that is actually quite reasonable. When you look at what other clubs have paid for strikers in recent years, £42 million starts to look like good value. Players with far less impressive records have moved for similar or even higher fees. The fact that Gyökeres has proven himself in one of Europe's top leagues makes this price tag even more attractive. Manchester United have spent big money on strikers before with mixed results. The club will want to make sure they are making a smart investment this time. At 29 years old, Guirassy is entering his peak years as a striker. You could realistically expect to get 3 or 4 good seasons out of him before age starts to become a factor. The financial aspect also needs to consider wages. While the transfer fee might be reasonable, Guirassy will likely demand a significant salary to make the move. Manchester United have been trying to be more careful with their wage structure in recent years, so this will be another consideration. There is also the question of resale value. When you sign a 29-year-old player, you know that you will not be able to sell him for a profit in a few years. This is different from signing a young player like Sesko, who could potentially be worth much more in the future if he develops as expected. However, Manchester United are at a point where they need immediate results. The club cannot afford to wait several years for young players to develop. They need players who can come in and make an impact right away, and that is exactly what Guirassy would offer. The manager's perspective. Ruben Amorim recently took over as Manchester United manager, and he has his own ideas about how he wants the team to play. Understanding what Amorim wants from his strikers is crucial to understanding why Guirassy might be a good fit. Amorim is known for his tactical flexibility and his ability to get the best out of his players. At his previous clubs, he has shown that he values strikers who can do more than just score goals. He wants forwards who can press defenders, create space for teammates, and contribute to the overall team performance. Guirassy's playing style seems to align well with what Amorim typically looks for in a striker. He has the physical attributes to lead the line, the technical ability to link up play, and the finishing quality to score important goals. These are all qualities that would make him a valuable player in Amorim's system. The manager has made it clear that he wants to strengthen the attack with proven quality. This suggests that he is not content to rely solely on young, developing players. He wants a mix of experience and youth in his squad, and signing Guirassy would help achieve that balance. Amorim also needs to think about the tactical flexibility that Guirassy would provide. Having a striker who can play in different ways gives the manager more options when setting up the team for different opponents. Against teams that sit deep and defend, Guirassy's physical presence and aerial ability could be crucial. Against teams that play a high line, his ability to run in behind could create opportunities. Potential challenges and concerns. While there are many reasons to be excited about the possibility of signing Guirassy, there are also some potential challenges and concerns that need to be addressed. One concern that has been mentioned in reports is his injury record. Guirassy has had some injury problems in the past, and Manchester United will need to be confident that he can stay fit for a full season. The Premier League is physically demanding, and players who have a history of injuries can struggle to adapt. Another consideration is the Africa Cup of Nations. As a Guinea international, Guirassy would be called up for this tournament when it takes place. This means Manchester United could lose him for several weeks during the middle of the season. For a club competing in multiple competitions, losing your main striker for an extended period is never ideal. The age factor is something that some fans might worry about. At 29, Guirassy is not a long-term solution. He is more of a short to medium-term option. Some people would prefer to see Manchester United invest in younger players who can be part of the club for many years to come. There is also the question of how quickly he would adapt to the Premier League. The Bundesliga is a great league, but it is different from the Premier League in many ways. The pace is different, the physicality is different, and the tactical approach is different. Not every player who succeeds in Germany can replicate that success in England. We have seen examples of Bundesliga strikers struggling after moving to the Premier League. Timo Werner is a good example. He scored goals for fun in Germany but found it much harder in England. Now, Guirassy and Werner are different types of players, but the point is that there is always a risk when signing players from other leagues. How would Guirassy fit into the current squad? Let's imagine for a moment that Manchester United do sign Serhou Guirassy. How would he fit into the current squad, and what would the team look like with him in it? First, you would expect Guirassy to be the main striker, playing as the central forward in Amorim's system. His physical presence and goal-scoring ability make him the natural choice to lead the line. Behind him, you would have the creative players like Bruno Fernandes and other attacking midfielders who would be tasked with creating chances for Guirassy to finish. One of the benefits of having a clinical striker is that it takes pressure off the creative players. They know that if they create a good chance, there is a high probability it will be converted into a goal. On the wings, Manchester United have players like Alejandro Garnacho and Amad Diallo who can provide crosses and cut inside to create shooting opportunities. Guirassy's aerial ability would be particularly useful when dealing with crosses from wide areas. The question of what happens to Benjamin Sesko is interesting. If Guirassy arrives, Sesko would likely have to accept a backup role, at least initially. He could still get plenty of game time through rotation, cup competitions, and when Guirassy is unavailable due to injury or international duty. In fact, Having both players could work well. They offer different qualities, and Amorim could choose which striker to use based on the opposition. Against some teams, Gyökeres's physicality might be more useful. Against others, Šeško's pace and movement could be the better option. The key would be managing both players carefully to ensure everyone stays happy and motivated. This is where the manager's man management skills become crucial. Keeping strikers happy when they are not playing every week is one of the toughest challenges in football management. What do the fans think? Manchester United fans have mixed opinions about the potential signing of Serhou Guirassy. Like with most transfer rumours, you can find supporters who are excited about it and others who have reservations. Some fans are desperate for the club to sign a proven goalscorer. They have watched Manchester United struggle to score goals in too many games, and they believe Guirassy could be the answer to that problem. These fans point to his impressive record at Dortmund and argue that the club needs to prioritise immediate results over long-term planning. Other fans are more cautious. They worry about spending £42 million on a 29-year-old player who might only have a few good years left. They would prefer to see the club invest in younger players who can grow with the team and potentially become world-class stars. There is also a group of fans who are concerned about what this transfer would mean for Benjamin Šeško. They believe the club should give the young Slovenian more time to develop rather than bringing in another striker who would limit his opportunities. Social media has been buzzing with debates about this potential transfer. Some fans have created videos analyzing Guirassy's playing style and explaining why he would be a good fit. Others have posted statistical comparisons between Guirassy and other strikers linked with Manchester United. The truth is that fans will always have different opinions, and that is part of what makes football so interesting. What matters most is that Manchester United make the right decision for the club based on careful analysis and planning, not based on what is popular or unpopular with certain sections of the fanbase. Comparing Guirassy to other transfer targets. Manchester United have been linked with several strikers over the past few months, so it is worth comparing Guirassy to some of the other names that have been mentioned. One striker who has been frequently linked with United is Victor Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon. Gyökeres is younger than Guirassy and has been in sensational form in Portugal. However, he would cost significantly more than Guirassy, with reports suggesting a price tag of around 80 to 100 million euros. When you compare the two, Guirassy offers better value for money. Yes, Gyökeres is younger and might have higher potential, but Guirassy has proven himself in a tougher league and could provide similar output at nearly half the price. Another name that has been mentioned is Ivan Toney. The Brentford striker has Premier League experience, which is a big advantage. He knows the league, he knows what it takes to succeed in England, and there would be no adaptation period. However, Toney is also 28 years old, so the age factor is similar to Guirassy. The question would be whether Toney's Premier League experience is worth paying a premium for compared to Guirassy's Bundesliga record. Then there are the younger options like Rasmus Højlund, who Manchester United already have in their squad. Some fans would argue that instead of signing another striker, the club should focus on developing Højlund and Šeško. This is a valid perspective, but it also carries risks. If neither young striker develops as quickly as hoped, Manchester United could waste another season without adequate goal-scoring options. When you look at all the options available, Guirassy represents a middle ground. He is not the most expensive option, he is not the youngest option, but he is proven, experienced, and available at a reasonable price. For a club that needs immediate improvements in attack, that combination might be exactly what is needed. The transfer timeline. According to the reports, Manchester United are eyeing a move for Guirassy in 2026, but there is also speculation about a potential January transfer. Understanding the timeline is important for fans who want to know when this transfer might happen. A January transfer would be surprising given that Guirassy only joined Dortmund relatively recently. Typically, clubs do not sell their key players midway through the season unless there is a compelling reason to do so. However, the release clause complicates things. If a club activates the clause, Dortmund might not have much choice in the matter. The more likely scenario is a summer 2026 transfer. This would give Guirassy a full season at Dortmund and would also give Manchester United more time to assess their needs and make a decision. By next summer, the club will have a clearer picture of how Šeško is developing, whether Xerxes has left, and what other options might be available in the market. A summer transfer would also be easier to manage from a squad planning perspective. The club would have the entire pre-season to integrate Guirassy into the team, help him adapt to his new surroundings, and build chemistry with his new teammates. Of course, transfer situations can change quickly in football. If Manchester United find themselves in a crisis in January with no fit strikers available, they might be forced to act sooner than planned. Similarly, if another club makes a strong move for Guirassy in January, United might feel pressure to act to avoid losing out on the player. For now, fans should probably not expect any movement in the January window unless something dramatic happens. The summer of 2026 seems like the most realistic timeframe for this transfer to happen, if it happens at all. What this transfer says about Manchester United's direction. Every transfer decision tells you something about a club's strategy and direction. If Manchester United do decide to sign Serhou Guirassy, what would that tell us about where the club is headed? First, it would suggest that the club is prioritizing immediate results over long-term development. This is not necessarily a bad thing. Manchester United have been in a transition phase for several years now, and at some point, you need to stop talking about the future and start winning trophies in the present. Signing an experienced, proven striker would be a statement that the club is serious about competing for major honors right now. Second, it would indicate that Ruben Amorim has significant influence over transfer decisions. The fact that the club is looking at a striker who fits Amorim's preferred style of play suggests that the manager is being given the support he needs to build the team he wants. This is important because Manchester United have been criticized in the past for signing players who do not fit the manager's system. Third, it would show that Manchester United are willing to be smart and opportunistic in the transfer market. Rather than spending 100 million on a marquee signing, the club would be taking advantage of a release clause to secure a quality player at a reasonable price. This kind of smart business is exactly what Manchester United need to do more of. However, it would also raise questions about the club's commitment to developing young players. If Sesko finds his path to regular first-team football blocked by Guirassy, it might discourage other young talents from joining Manchester United in the future. Promising youngsters want to play, and if they think they will be stuck behind established stars, they might choose to go elsewhere. The key for Manchester United will be finding the right balance. The club needs to win now, but it also needs to think about the future. The best clubs in the world manage to do both. They have experienced winners who deliver results immediately while also giving opportunities to talented youngsters who will become the stars of tomorrow. The bigger picture, Manchester United striker search. The pursuit of Serhou Guirassy is just one part of a much bigger story about Manchester United's search for a reliable striker. This has been an ongoing issue for the club for several years now, and it is worth taking a step back to look at the bigger picture. Since the departure of certain key strikers in recent years, Manchester United have struggled to find a consistent goal scorer. The club has tried different approaches, signing young prospects, experienced veterans, and players from different leagues, but nothing has quite worked out as planned. This lack of a reliable striker has cost Manchester United in crucial moments. How many games have we watched where the team created chances but failed to score? How many times have we seen Manchester United dominate possession and territory but come away with nothing because they could not finish their opportunities? The frustration among fans is understandable. When you watch other top clubs who have world-class strikers banging in goals every week, it makes you realize just how much Manchester United are missing in that department. The Guirassy situation needs to be viewed in this context. This is not just about one transfer. It is about Manchester United finally solving a problem that has plagued the club for too long. Whether Guirassy is the right solution remains to be seen, but at least the club is actively working to address the issue. The important thing is that Manchester United get this decision right. The club cannot afford another expensive mistake in the striker position. Every transfer has to be carefully analysed, and the decision-makers need to be confident that the player they sign will succeed at Old Trafford. Questions fans should be asking. As this transfer saga develops, there are several questions that Manchester United fans should be asking. Let's go through some of the most important ones. First, can Guirassy adapt to the Premier League? This is the big question. The Premier League is different from any other league in the world, and not every player can handle the intensity and physicality. Manchester United need to be confident that Guirassy has the attributes to succeed in England. Second, how will this affect Benjamin Sesko's development? The club has invested in Sesko because they believe he can become a top striker. Will signing Guirassy help or hinder that development? Can both players coexist in the same squad, or will one of them become unhappy with their role? Third, is £42 million good value in today's market? On paper, it seems like a reasonable price for a proven goalscorer. But when you factor in his age, his recent dip in form, and his injury history, does it still represent good value? These are the calculations that the club's decision-makers need to get right. Fourth, what happens if the transfer does not work out? If Manchester United sign Guirassy and he struggles to adapt, the club will be left in a difficult position. They will have spent significant money on a player who is not contributing, and they might have damaged Sesko's development in the process. Fifth, are there better alternatives available? The transfer market is full of talented strikers. Is Guirassy the best option, or should Manchester United be looking at other players? This is where the scouting department needs to earn their money by identifying the best possible targets. These are not easy questions to answer, and reasonable people might disagree on what the right approach should be. But these are the conversations that need to happen before any final decision is made. The role of analytics and scouting. Modern football clubs rely heavily on analytics and scouting to make transfer decisions. Gone are the days when clubs would sign players based purely on reputation or a manager's recommendation. Today, every transfer is backed by extensive data analysis and scouting reports. So what would Manchester United's analytics team be looking at when assessing Serhou Guirassy? There are several key metrics that matter. Expected goals is one important metric. This measures the quality of chances a player gets and whether they are overperforming or underperforming compared to what would be expected. If Guirassy is consistently scoring more goals than his expected goals number suggests, it indicates he is a clinical finisher. Shot conversion rate is another crucial metric. What percentage of his shots result in goals? A high conversion rate suggests efficiency in front of goal, which is exactly what Manchester United need. The analytics team would also look at his movement patterns. Does he make good runs in behind the defense? Does he find space in the box? Does he position himself well to receive crosses? These are all aspects of striker play that can be measured and analyzed. Physical metrics would be important too. How much ground does he cover in a game? What is his sprint speed? How good is his aerial duel success rate? These numbers help build a complete picture of what the player can offer. Beyond the numbers, traditional scouting is still vital. Watching a player in person, seeing how he reacts to different game situations, observing his body language and attitude, these are things that cannot be captured by data alone. Manchester United would send scouts to watch Guirassy play multiple times before making any final decision. The combination of analytics and traditional scouting gives clubs the best chance of making successful transfers. Neither approach is perfect on its own, but when used together, they can provide valuable insights. What happens next? So where do we go from here? The transfer saga will continue to develop over the coming weeks and months, and there will be plenty more twists and turns before any final decision is made. Manchester United will continue to monitor Guirassy's situation at Borussia Dortmund. They will watch his performances, track his fitness, and keep tabs on interest from other clubs. The club's decision-makers will have regular meetings to discuss whether pursuing this transfer makes sense. Meanwhile, Guirassy will keep playing for Dortmund and trying to get back to his best form. His performances between now and next summer could have a big impact on whether Manchester United decide to move forward with this transfer. Other clubs like Arsenal and PSG will also be watching closely. If one of them makes a strong move for Guirassy, it could force Manchester United to make a quicker decision than they would like. Benjamin Sesko's development will be another key factor. If he comes back from injury and starts scoring goals regularly, Manchester United might decide they do not need to sign another striker. On the other hand, if Sesko continues to struggle, it will strengthen the case for bringing in Guirassy. Joshua Zirkzee's situation will also play a role. If he leaves in January, as some reports suggest, Manchester United will have a big gap to fill in their striker position. This could accelerate the timeline for any move for Guirassy. For fans, the best thing to do is stay informed and patient. Transfer sagas can drag on for months, and there will be plenty of speculation and rumors along the way. Not all of them will be true, and many will be designed simply to generate clicks and attention. This is why it is important to follow reliable sources like United Daily Updates. We work hard to separate fact from fiction and give you the most accurate information available. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. The bottom line. Let me bring everything together and give you the bottom line on this potential transfer. Serhou Guirassy is a quality striker with a proven track record of scoring goals at the highest level. At 29 years old, he is in his prime and could provide Manchester United with the reliable goalscorer they have been missing. The reported €50 million release clause represents reasonable value in today's inflated transfer market. However, there are legitimate concerns about this transfer. His recent dip in form is worrying, even if it might just be a temporary blip. His injury history needs to be carefully assessed. The impact on Benjamin Sesko's development cannot be ignored. And there is always a risk when signing players from other leagues who need to adapt to the Premier League. Manchester United face competition from Arsenal and PSG, both of whom have the resources and ambition to compete for Guirassy's signature. The club will need to move decisively if they want to secure this transfer. The decision ultimately comes down to what Manchester United prioritize. If the club wants immediate results and is willing to take a calculated risk on a 29-year-old striker, Guirassy makes sense. If the club wants to focus on long-term development and give their young strikers more time, they might look elsewhere. My personal view is that Manchester United need to be bold and proactive in the transfer market. The club has been too cautious in recent years, and it has cost them. Sometimes you need to take a risk on a player who might not fit the perfect long-term profile but who can deliver results right now. Guirassy is not a perfect solution, but he might be a good solution. And sometimes, good is better than perfect, especially when perfect is not available or affordable. The key is that Manchester United make an informed decision based on thorough analysis rather than panic or desperation. The club needs to be strategic, smart, and confident in whatever direction they choose to go. Final thoughts and call to action. We have covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the Serhou Guirassy transfer situation. From his playing style and goal-scoring record to the financial considerations and competition from other clubs, we have looked at every angle of this potential move. The coming months will be crucial in determining whether this transfer happens. Manchester United have a big decision to make, and it is one that could have a significant impact on the club's fortunes in the years ahead. As a Manchester United fan, this is an exciting time. The club is clearly trying to improve and strengthen the squad, and having a manager like Ruben Amorim who has a clear vision for how he wants the team to play makes everything more promising. Whether or not Guirassy ends up at Old Trafford, one thing is clear: Manchester United are serious about solving their striker problem. The club cannot continue to struggle for goals if they want to compete with the best teams in England and Europe. I hope this blog post has given you all the information you need to form your own opinion on this potential transfer. Make sure you let me know what you think in the comments section. Do you want Manchester United to sign Guirassy? Or would you prefer the club to stick with their current strikers and focus on developing young players? And remember, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and transfer rumours, subscribe to United Daily Updates on YouTube. We are your trusted source for everything Red Devils, and we work hard every day to bring you reliable, accurate information. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our growing community of passionate Manchester United fans. Together, we will follow every twist and turn of the Serhou Guirassy saga and all the other exciting stories surrounding our beloved club. Thank you for reading, and I will see you in the next update. Come on, United!